the stars tonight, holding on to love bathed in moonlight.
It began as an ordinary day, the kind you don't remember because nothing extraordinary ever happens. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of my alarm buzzing beside me. My wife, Clara, was already out of bed, her side of the mattress cool to the touch. She often woke up earlier than I did to meditate or go for a morning run. It was one of the many things I loved about her: her energy, her dedication to self-care, and her seemingly boundless positivity. But that day, as I'd soon learn, would be far from ordinary. The first sign that something was amiss came when I walked into the kitchen. Clara was there, standing by the coffee maker, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up or greet me with her usual warm smile. Instead, she seemed distant, distracted. "Morning," I said, leaning in to kiss her cheek. She flinched ever so slightly, a reaction so small that I might have missed it if I hadn't been paying attention. But I noticed, and it set off a faint alarm in my mind. "Morning," she replied, her eyes still glued to her phone. "Coffee's ready." As I poured myself a cup, I tried to shake off the nagging feeling. Maybe she was just preoccupied with work. Her job as a marketing executive often demanded her full attention, and I knew she had a big campaign launching soon. Still, her detachment felt unusual, even for a stressful morning. The day progressed in its usual rhythm. I headed to the office, worked through meetings, answered emails, and grabbed lunch with a colleague. But Clara lingered in the back of my mind like a half-remembered dream. I found myself replaying her reactions from that morning, scrutinizing her every word and gesture. Was I imagining things, or was there something she wasn't telling me? That evening, when I got home, Clara was in the living room, curled up on the couch with her laptop. She smiled when she saw me, a practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "How was your day?" she asked. "Busy," I replied, setting my bag down. "How about you?" Same old," she said with a shrug, quickly closing her laptop. The movement was almost too quick, as though she didn't want me to see what she'd been working on. My stomach tightened. Over dinner, I tried to engage her in conversation, but her answers were clipped and perfunctory. She seemed miles away, lost in her own thoughts. By the time we finished eating, I was convinced something was wrong. I just didn't know what. The next morning, I decided to trust my gut. Clara had left for her run, and I was alone in the house. Her laptop was on the kitchen counter, charging. I hesitated, my conscience warring with my curiosity. I'd always believed in respecting her privacy, but the nagging sense of unease had grown too loud to ignore. With trembling hands, I opened her laptop. It wasn't password protected. Clara had always said she had nothing to hide. The irony wasn't lost on me as I navigated to her email inbox. At first glance, everything seemed normal: work emails, newsletters, and promotional offers. But then I noticed a folder labeled personal. I clicked on it. What I found made my heart stop. There were dozens of emails between Clara and someone named Matthew. The subject lines were innocuous enough: dinner plans, thinking of you, last night. But the contents told a different story. As I read through the emails, a horrifying picture began to emerge. Clara and Matthew had been seeing each other for months. Their messages were filled with declarations of love, plans for secret rendezvous, and explicit details that made me feel physically ill. I could barely breathe as I scrolled through them, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. Clara came home an hour later, her face flushed from her run. She greeted me with a cheerful, "Hey," but her smile faded when she saw the look on my face. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing. I held up her laptop. "This," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Care to explain?" Her eyes widened in panic. For a moment, She seemed frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. Then she let out a shaky breath and sat down at the kitchen table. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "I never meant for you to find out like this." Her words felt like a slap in the face. "You never meant for me to find out?" I repeated, my anger rising. "That's what you're sorry for? Not the affair itself, but the fact that I found out?" "No," she said quickly, tears streaming down her face. "That's not what I meant. I'm sorry for everything. I don't know how it got to this point." "Then explain it to me," I demanded. "How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, then finally admitted, 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. Half a year of lies, deceit, and betrayal. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Clara moved out of our house to stay with a friend, giving me space to process everything. I was angry, devastated, and utterly lost. Our marriage had been my anchor, the foundation of my life, and now it felt like everything I'd known was a lie. Friends and family reached out to offer their support, but their words did little to ease the pain. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake for hours, replaying our relationship in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. Had she been unhappy? Had I failed her in some way? The self-doubt was suffocating. Eventually, I started seeing a therapist. It was the first step toward healing, though it felt like climbing a mountain barefoot. Through therapy, I began to understand that Clara's actions were not a reflection of my worth. Her choices were her own, and while I couldn't control what had happened, I could control how I chose to move forward. It's been a year since I discovered Clara's affair. We finalized our divorce 6 months ago, and while it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, it was also the right one. I've learned to find joy in small things again. A quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a hike in the woods, a heartfelt conversation with a friend. The scars of betrayal don't fade overnight, but they do fade. Slowly but surely, I've started to rebuild my life. And while I may never fully understand why Clara did what she did, I've come to terms with the fact that some questions will remain unanswered. Life goes on. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. And one day, I hope to find love again. A love built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Until then, I'll keep putting one foot in front of the other, knowing that brighter days lie ahead. Thank you for watching Endless Tales of Love. If this story resonated with you, or if you've faced challenges in your own relationships, let's start a conversation. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And if you found strength or inspiration in my journey, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can create a community where we support each other through life's ups and downs. I appreciate you staying to the end. And remember, you're never alone.